Welcome to this week's edition of the Snakebite. I missed you guys. It's been more than a month and we have a lot to cover. Only 3 sports, but this is a lot of stuff for 3 sports. We'll roll that intro and be right back.
Sydney Gomes continues to lead the most underrated women's basketball team in the nation, and since our last show, the Mocs have gone 6-1. They extended their overall win streak to 10, the longest win streak since the 2018-2019 season when the team won over 30 games. In these wins, the Mocs were simply dominant. Currently, they sit at the 9th best offense in the country and top 5 nationally in 4 other stats, including defensive rebounding. They also rank top 25 in 5 other stats as a team nationally. Gomes, as previously mentioned, has been huge for this team as she continues to cement herself in the record books. She's on pace to be the 2nd player in school history to reach 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, and 300 assists in a career, the only other being Stacey Ungashik, who played in the early 90s for the program. Since the most recent show, Gomes has earned Conference Defensive and Offensive Player of the Week in separate weeks. En route to winning those awards, the team has had a lot of success as well, finding their first win against Lynn University in head coach Megan Zekas' tenure, and dominated foe Palm Beach Atlantic with physical rebounding, out-rebounding the Sailfish by 21 in a 15-point win. And Carl, there was only 1 blemish on the month for this team.
That was the loss to number 4 Nova Southeastern, but the Mocs still looked really good to start that game. They started the game and they were up at half against the number 4 team in the country who hadn't lost since their season ended last year in the regional. The Mocs, though, they struggled in that second half due to a number of runs from the Sharks that they just couldn't answer. In those, though, the Mocs still tried to battle back. One of those players who really tried to help the effort was Gianna Voss. She had her career high in minutes, in points. It was her first time in her career leading the team in total points scored. She had 14. That was the only time this season that Gomes was not the leader. And if you want to talk about this team, I know I've said Sydney Gomes a lot, but she's really good. We mentioned her Player of the Week honors, but she also dominated against Barry in the very next game. Against Barry, the Mocs looked to respond early, and they did. Gomes led the charge, forcing turnovers with 2 early steals to get them to an 11-0 run. She then helped carry through that momentum, scoring buckets whenever they needed, inside and out. She ultimately finished with 26 points and 10 rebounds in that game, a career high for points in a double-double and career high for points at home at George Jenkins Fieldhouse. The Mocs now sit at tied 2nd in the conference, and that's not just because of Gomes. I know she's really good, but we also have to talk about Nia Blockton. She's been great. She's one of the top rebounding bigs in the country, one of the top shot deterrers in the conference, and of course, Carlota Gomez-Alonso. She's really good. She can rack up assists, rack up steals, and of course, get those points on the board. I'll give a shout out to Lily Pereira too. She has been great as that connecting piece. Lily Raingard's back, and also Monica Ballester is super slept on for her inside and out scoring. This Moxon team is not one to be messed with, despite what the WBCA may say about them. They deserve to be ranked, and they will look to prove that yet again. Tomorrow against Florida Tech, Mocs will be looking to pick up another win in conference play to move to 6-1.
Men's basketball has been tested this last month, going 5-3 with high highs and historic wins paired with tough road losses. We'll run through the reader just like the Mocs offense runs, but we can't promise the shot clock won't ring at the end though. The Mocs have played 81% of their games this season at home and returned home in a matchup against rivals Rollins College. Against the Tars, they battled late to find the 5-point win in their 120th win against Rollins, which marked the first time in program history the Mocs reached 120 wins against a single opponent. In this one, the Mocs had 6 players in double figures, including the leading scorer Amari Miller, who has been and will continue to be a major talking point for the Mocs' success over the stretch. They then followed it up with a huge 97-63 demolition of Lincoln, giving the Mocs major confidence heading into their 2nd road game of the season at Lynn. The Fighting Knights were unafraid of the, at the time, number 16 of the country, heading into the Mocs' biggest loss to an unranked Division II opponent in school history, in a game where offense and answers to the Lynn attack couldn't be found. The skid continued in the lowest scoring game of the season, where the Mocs scored just 66 points against Bentley University in a loss where they were dominated on the glass. Carl, things felt pretty dreary after that loss. Do you think they can continue to be hanging up with the big guys?
They had to really think about that after the game, and they responded really well in their next one against 𝙏𝙃𝙀. They were tested early and often in that one, but they rebounded really well in that game. 47 rebounds for that Moccasin side, and they did so on the back of guys like Amari Miller. He did a huge job in rebounding in that game and helped them get to that 116 points against 𝙏𝙃𝙀. Additionally, they scored those 116 points with 7 Mocs finding double digits. Then the number 3 team in the country came to town in Palm Beach Atlantic, and the Sailfish, they have been the only team the last 2 years to beat the reigning national champs, Nova Southeastern. They beat them once last year, they beat them once this year, and they were coming in number 3 like I mentioned. The Mocs, though, they were unafraid of the Sailfish, going into half up 23 points, the biggest lead, they've had against the top 3 team in over a decade at halftime. The Mocs then finished the game out. They won 101-85, marking the largest win against a top 3 opponent in program history. The Mocs in that one were led by, guess who? Amari Miller. He had 20 points and over 10 rebounds and another double-double this season, a category he ranks top 25 in the nation in. The Mocs then had to wait for the new year to continue that momentum, but they were met with the Sharks of Nova Southeastern, who are now over 90 wins at home consecutively. This Nova team, they came to play, and they came to play in that first half. The number 4 team showed it and really showed out against the Mocs, who responded late, but it was just too little, too late. Despite Brady Corso's 26 points, the Mocs fell in that one. They then had to respond soon, returning back home against the Barrie Buccaneers, where the Mocs, they answered early, forcing turnovers and getting fast break points, where they ultimately were finding themselves up big at half. Then we saw responses from that Barrie side, especially on the glass, but the Mocs stayed clutch. Riley Bacino, 21 points, 24 minutes, both career highs. Then Amir Ramadan, the sophomore guard, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Another career high for the Mocs and a career day for the true sophomore. The Mocs rallied, they stayed strong, but the battle is just getting started. They're 1-2 on the road, and they will head to Florida Tech tomorrow to take on Florida Tech. They're 1-2, like I mentioned, on the road, looking to get to 500 and looking to get back into the national ranks.
Over the break, the swim team competed in 2 events to wrap up 2025, most notably their senior day matchup against Indian River State College. The head-to-head matchup against the River took place on Friday, December 12th, where the Mocs re-entered the Nina B. Hollis Wellness Center pool in competition for the first time since their opening meet back on October 11th. For the relays, the FSC men's freestyle A team, consisting of Nino Valian, Matthew DeRoca, Michael Tretyakov, and Will Neville, won the 200-yard stint. Additionally, the women's medley A team, consisting of Zoe Chelly, Alexa Paredes, Elizabeth Sykes, and Sam Hunter, placed first in their 200 medley. And Carlo, there's no I in team, but there is an I in Kalicki.
There is an I in Rania Kalicki's name. I believe 1, 2 in her name, and Kalicki was excellent in that one. SSC Swimmer of the Week, and much deserved. In the first event of the day, she placed second in the 200-yard freestyle, followed by a win in the 100-yard freestyle, and she was the first off the block for that aforementioned second-place relay finish for the freestyle A team. Then some other individuals who really shined were Daniel Mazzaros, who won the 200-yard freestyle, and the aforementioned DeRoca, who won both the 50 and 100. And can't forget about the distance swimmers. Gabrielle Goodwin won the 1,000-yard freestyle pretty easily, I might say. And then on December 18th, the team moved on to Nova Southeastern, where they took on the Nova Southeastern Invite, and the men placed 3rd out of 7 on the day, while the women placed 4th out of 6. In a brief highlight, the top finishers on the day were Paredes, who placed 3rd in the 100-yard breaststroke, and Simeon Przinski, who took gold in the 400-yard individual medley. And now, after their 2-month road stint, the team will be back on the road for the rest of the season. The finale consists of 3 head-to-head matches against Division II rivals and SSC foes, Rollins College, Nova Southeastern, and Lynn University. And further down the road, the SSC Conference Championships, and then, of course, they'll have their eyes on the National Championships. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. They'll begin their road tour today at Rollins College at 3 p.m. in Winter Park, Florida. Make sure to stay tuned to FCMocs.com to pay attention to all of that news. And that will do it for this week's edition of the Snakebite. Thank you so much for tuning in. There is a lot of spring sports coming up. We got baseball, softball, tennis. We already mentioned swim, basketball,
Lacrosse.
lacrosse. I'm missing something. Of course, there's track and so much more. So stay tuned. We miss you here on the Snakebite.